Hi, this is Tony Kent, and this is another episode of Tony Kent Writes and Cross-Examines. Today, subjecting herself to a completely mediocre cross-examination will be former journalist and current internationally best-selling author, Lisa Gray. Lisa is the author of the PI Jessica Shaw series, which is an LA Noir series that takes place, as you would expect, in LA. It begins with Thin Air. That was followed in the same year by Bad Memory. And in November of this year, we're going to have the third installment, which is Dark Highway. Lisa is from Glasgow. And so we're going to be finding out how on earth she has managed to set an acclaimed series out on the West Coast of America. Lisa, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Tony. How are you?
Oh, very well. I'm filling my time doing these things. How are you filling your time during the lockdown?
Well, I suppose in terms of the work side of things, it's not hugely different because I was lucky enough, as you mentioned, I'm a former journalist now, to give up the day job last year. So I basically write full time now. So in terms of the work side of things, it's pretty much day-to-day normal stuff. At the start of lockdown, I think it was straight into structural edits for Dark Highway, so that was quite a good thing to kind of take my mind off the whole sort of general anxiety of everything that's going on. And copy edits are done now, so now it's a case of getting on with the planning for book 4. So I think it's more the social side that's the issue. I mean, a nice day like today, you want to be in town having lunch or finding
a beer garden day
somewhere. So such a nice day and perfect day to meet friends and have a bottle of wine in a beer garden, and obviously that can't happen. So yeah, I think it's more the social side that's been quite hard to adapt to, just missing people.
And I mean, also as authors, people probably don't realise, but so much of our life, our social life suddenly kind of revolves around festivals and book fairs and things that you just wouldn't even think about. But when you don't have them, you realise how important they have become, how quickly they've become so important. But going back to, you say structural edits on the third book, I mean, that really is good timing, isn't it? Because it's been quite, I think a lot of people are finding it hard to write during the lockdown. And I've got some theories on why that is. I'm not going to bore you with them, but the actual writing process is quite difficult. But structural edits, I mean, that's a different thing altogether, isn't it? That's actually sort of something that is very time intensive, but which I guess is about the best thing you could be given when the lockdown starts, because it's a really focused job.
Yeah, it's ideal for me because I'm one of those strange people that actually really enjoys doing edits. I'm definitely someone that prefers to work with something that's already there than sitting staring at the blank page. So as you say, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see when it comes to doing the actual writing, when I start writing on book 4, if we're still in this situation, how that's going to pan out. But I've heard people saying they're struggling to read as well. So, I mean, that's not been a problem for me so far. I've been getting through quite a few books. So hopefully the writing will come as well when it comes to sitting down in the chair and getting in front of the computer again. Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed. I'm sitting in front of a wooden panel, so such good for you. So you've released the first book in 2019. The first book is Thin Air.
Yeah.
And then Bad Memory was also released in 2019. So you've managed to sort of that very unusual 1-2 punch of 2 books in 1 year in the same series in your first year. I mean, that must have been, well, your publishers must have been over the moon.
Well, yeah, obviously when you write the first book, you'll know this yourself. There's no real deadlines. You're kind of working to your own deadline. And then when I got the deal, they were keen to get the second book done quite quick. So that was, I think, written in about 5 months, which is which I think is
very fast.
Yeah, it's quite fast, especially when I still had a full-time job as a reporter at the Daily Record at that point. So, but I think it was a good thing to get the second book out so quick, just to really build on the series and keep that momentum going. So there's a wee bit more time between book 2 and 3. I think it'll be round about a year in between those 2 ones. So hopefully the people that liked the first 2 books will still be wanting to read the third one as well.
Well, the first book, for example, Thin Air, did fantastically well, didn't it? It was critically acclaimed, and it sold fantastic numbers. And as people have just heard us say a couple of times, you were able to quit the day job, which I think is for many writers is the absolute dream, isn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely, it was certainly the dream for me. As much as, I mean, I had a good time working as a journalist, I think the thing I always enjoyed most about that was the writing side of it. So I think it's one of those things when you write books, you always hope that the day will come where you can give up the day job and do this full time. But yeah, it happened a wee bit quicker than I maybe would have expected it to, but no complaints so far.
No, well, there'll be a lot of very envious people out there. I'm not actually. I would be one of them if I wanted to give up the day job. But I think my day job's quite helpful for the writing process and for inspiration. So no, but I would otherwise be envious. So what made you, if you don't mind me asking? I lived in Scotland for 4 years. I know Glasgow quite well. What made you, as a native Glaswegian, decide to write about LA?
I think there was a few things. I mean, I really enjoy reading books that are set in the US, but in saying that, I also enjoy books set in the UK as well. But I think it was more the storyline, particularly for the first book, because for anyone who doesn't know, the story's about a private investigator who's from New York, and she spent 2 years on the road after her dad dies, basically trying to run away from the memories in New York. And she's in Los Angeles when she comes across the case of a missing child, a child who's been missing for 25 years. And she looks at the photograph and recognises the child as herself. So that's kind of the mystery. She goes from finding missing people to becoming one herself. And I don't know, I just thought it was maybe more plausible for that to happen in the US, that you could grow up in New York not knowing that you were a child abducted from Los Angeles, but maybe a bit less plausible if, say, you grew up in London and then find out that you'd been abducted from Glasgow.
Yeah. No, it's very...
Would you really go 25 years without stumbling across that story beforehand? I don't know. So that was kind of the biggest reason. And
it makes a huge amount of sense. I mean, I think you can tell from my reaction, I haven't actually read Thin Air. I am going to now. That's I'm hoping that everyone watching this is going to have the same reaction that I just had, because you just completely I'm now buying that book. I'll be pre-ordering in the 15 minutes I have after we finish speaking.
Oh, brilliant.
It sounds, what a great idea. What an original idea that really is. And you're right, that just wouldn't work in this country. Just couldn't work.
Yeah, so that was probably the biggest reason. And again, there's other writers who we're friends with, some of them as well, people like Mason Cross and Steve Cavan and Steph Brodrib, who have done it, and they've done it really well. UK authors who have set books in America. So I think I kind of thought, well, if they can do it, I might give it a go as well and see how it pans out.
It panned out pretty well, didn't it?
Yeah.
And so that's the book where you meet Jessica Shaw, and obviously it's unusual, I guess, in the sense that you've got your detective character, because she's a detective, isn't she? She's a PI. Yeah. You've got your detective character, as you say, who is used to hunting people, and then suddenly it's hunting herself. So she's your protagonist. She's also your victim. But then we go on from there, don't you? And then the next book in the series is also, well, all the books in the series are Jessica Shaw books. So you're following that main character as more of a pure protagonist in book 2. Yeah.
So the first book, I think it was a really good way to introduce her when she is so central to the storyline. But yeah, as the series moves on, Bad Memory, it's a totally different thing. It is more, she's been hired to look into, again, it's another historical case. It's a death row story about a woman who's about to be executed, who confessed to 2 murders 30 years earlier, who's suddenly now not sure if she did actually commit those murders. So that's a bit more of a straightforward, the private eye coming in to investigate, and it's the same with the
and is that repressed memories, hidden memories syndrome, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's kind of like false memories, hidden memories. Yeah. So,
because I mean, I've encountered that in my day job. I've never written about it, or probably never will. But I've encountered it in the day job, and it's a fascinating subject, isn't it? I mean, the repressed memories, false memories, are very, very interesting.
Yeah, as in, I mean, it was a story about a case in America. Again, I think this went back to the 1980s, a really horrible case where I think in the end up it was 5 or 6 different people all confessed to being involved in this crime, and it was only years later that DNA actually proved that none of them were involved. It was someone else completely. So it was this how this can come about, repressed memories and false memories and all the stuff around that. So that was kind of the jumping off point for bad memory.
And unlike Thin Air, which takes place in LA, this takes place just outside LA. We were speaking before we started recording about the possibilities of that particular location, because we all think of LA as Hollywood or as the sort of or Compton, these are downtown gang districts, but actually step outside of LA and you're in the desert, aren't you?
Yeah, you're in the middle of the desert basically. Yeah. So I mean that's just a great landscape as well, I think, to use as a setting for a book. And I really love those small town America type stories as well. So it was quite good that, as you say, you can go an hour outside Los Angeles and you're in the heart of the desert in these small towns where, if you're writing a book, it's a great place to have people that's been keeping secrets and all sorts of stuff going on.
And then the third book, which, as we said, comes out in November, that's Dark Highway. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this one is split between Venice Beach and 29 Palms Highway. So by this point, Jessica Shaw is based in Venice Beach, and she takes on the case of a missing woman, an artist who has been missing for 2 months, and it very quickly transpires that it's not just one woman who's missing, it's 3 women who are missing, and they're all somehow connected to the 29 Palms Highway, because this was the last known whereabouts of all 3 women. So it's really to kind of dig into the past and see what the secrets are there that connects all these women in that particular location. So again, that's another one that's set quite a bit out in the desert, because 29 Palms is, again, it's a desert community.
Yeah. I don't want to use the word stumbled on, because you obviously haven't stumbled on it, but you've decided upon. I mean, there's so many possibilities in that location, and although it's probably the home of noir, isn't it? I mean, it's where noir really came from. At the same time, it's certainly not a lot of people in Glasgow writing it. So.
Yeah, but I suppose the funny thing, when I was writing Thin Air, I didn't realise I was writing noir. As strange as that sounds, I just thought I was writing a straightforward crime thriller. I didn't really think a lot about the subgenres, about writing PI fiction or noir, and it was only when the book came out and people started to refer to it as LA noir, including your friend Ian Rankin, who I know you had your programme a few days ago. So he had tweeted one day that he was reading the book and referred to it as Mazy Los Angeles noir, and I was like, that actually sounds quite cool. So if
anyone can spot noir. If anybody can spot noir, he's never accused me of writing it.
I'm not going to argue with Ian Rankin, so
it's best not to. No, that's. I mean, it sounds like an incredible series, and as I said, I hope that anyone watching this has had the same reaction that I've just had to your description of Thin Air, because honestly, I'm going to be bang on to Amazon the moment we stop recording, and we'll be ordering that, and that doesn't often happen actually. So. But it sounds fantastic. And so Jessica Shaw as a character, where did she sort of, obviously she's the victim as well as the protagonist of the first book, but where did she come from as a formed character?
It's a strange one. I think I knew when I wrote the first book I wanted it to be a series. But I didn't want her to be a police officer, because I just wasn't sure if I would be able to write a police procedural well enough, in terms of, I mean, I think you need a vast amount of knowledge of police procedure to really do that well. And despite working as a journalist for a long time, I wasn't really keen on the idea of having a main character that was a journalist either. So kind of by a process of elimination, I ended up with a private eye, and maybe just a couple of kind of jumping off points. I wanted her to be quite smart. I wanted her to be quite capable, not to have to rely on people, but to be a bit vulnerable as well. And I suppose by the time you get to the third book in the series, the character just kind of evolves in a more natural way from that starting point.
Well, it does happen, doesn't it, when you're writing a series character, that you end up knowing them, and they end up doing stuff that you might not have thought they would have done, because they're real by that point. Lisa, I've just spotted the clock. 14 minutes 43 seconds, so we can have an almost gentle goodbye. Thank you very much for giving up time this morning to speak to me, and good luck with the next book. Good luck with the series, and I'll certainly be buying it. I hope that everybody else who watches this will too. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks. Bye.